Everyone, I made a second trip to the movie theaters this past week to see another highly acclaimed film. This is The Banshees of Inisherin. It's written and directed by Martin McDonagh, in which he re-teams Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, who made such a splash together in McDonagh's debut film, In Bruges, back from 2007. And we are in 1923 Ireland. This is Inisherin is a island off the west coast of Ireland. Sparsely inhabited island. Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell, longtime friends. There's maybe a 20-year age difference between them. And for some unknown reason, Brendan Gleeson, the older man, decides that he doesn't want to be friends anymore with his best friend. And Colin Farrell, the younger man, is so distraught by this, and he can't. Why would you not be friends with me anymore? Why aren't we going to the local pub and sharing our pint? And there is the intimation that the Colin Farrell character is somewhat dull, but he cherishes this friendship. So it's broken up for no reason. Now, 1923 Ireland is the time of the Irish Civil War. So off in the distance on the mainland, we periodically see explosions, and the characters look off in the distance because this is a civil war. So now the Irish are not fighting the English, the Irish are fighting the Irish. And so it's a apt background for what develops in the kind of civil war between these two best friends that are no longer best friends. The island itself, the Irish landscape itself, is a character in the film, and it is a landscape that is full of animals. Animals are as well sort of characters in the film, especially a miniature donkey that follows Colin Farrell all around in his wanderings. And at home, in this tiny little farmhouse that Colin Farrell lives with his sister. Now, his sister, if he's a bit dull, she's not. She's intelligent. She's very lively. She's out of place. This is an existence where limited, almost zero opportunity, and she's quickly becoming a spinster. But she's fiercely loyal to her brother, and she is upset as he is at this ending of this friendship. And then there's another character, I have to name another actor, Barry Keoghan. He plays like the local dim-witted. He seems dim-witted, but every once in a while he has moments of insight. He too sees his life as hopeless. He's like a character out of John Ford's The Quiet Man, maybe the Jack McGowan character. He gives a terrific performance. Carrie Condon, Barry Keoghan, great supporting performances here. And this is all about the dialogue. Martin McDonagh is a playwright. I've seen a couple of his stage plays, none of which he has adopted to the movies. He's only made 4 movies, but they're all original screenplays. And he knows he's got Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson for this movie, so he writes for them. He knows what they're really good at doing. So he gives them great dialogue. They catch the rhythms of the dialogue. And Brendan Gleeson, music being a big part of the film, Brendan Gleeson in real life is an expert violinist, fiddler player. So. But the movie is really about loneliness, the aloneness of life, this desperate need for friendship. And whether it be with man or with animal, there's a desperate need to connect with other people, with the pet miniature donkey. But as the film develops, well, let's get to what is a banshee. I didn't know what a banshee was. A female spirit whose wailing warns of an impending death. And we do, in fact, have a character here in the movie, an old lady, a crone. She walks around with a black robe and black hood. clearly a nod to death in Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal. And I have to mention a little bit about the plotting. Now, I'm a big fan of Martin McDonagh's work. You know, his work on stage, and I like his films. But sometimes the plotting is the weakest element. They kind of go off the rails. Certainly in his movie Seven Psychopaths, which Colin Farrell was also in, they really goes off the rails. It left the audience behind. I love that movie, but I understand people's resistance to it. Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, too. I think you can safely say there are elements in the plotting and where it goes to that are a bit weak, and perhaps here too as well, because we get it's kind of predictable in what happens to the two of the characters, one of the animals. You can almost predict what's going to happen to a certain extent. They seem, at very least, they seem a bit forced, and they're certainly abrupt. But McDonagh is a fantastic writer of dialogue, and his films are fable, so we can accept whatever comes in this movie, because it's a story. You would sit in a pub and somebody would tell you this odd story that goes off into macabre ways that you find difficult to believe, and yet there is elements in it that are very much believable. As for the two main actors, they are simply sensational together. You see. I saw some interviews in the publicity YouTube videos. You can catch where you can see the chemistry between the two and the great joy that they have working together. Really plays a big part of the Banshees. And Colin Farrell is I've always found him. I guess he's somewhat overlooked. He does get some good parts. This is certainly, if he's going to win awards for Best Actor, this is definitely the one that maybe even most qualifies for him. But even in some of his supporting roles, like in Widows and then what was it, The Gentleman, he always comes up with something. An interesting character. And after all the big publicity of all the problems he had early in his career as far as drugs and sort of general over partying, he looks like he's lived his life. He's still not even 50 yet, and he still has a young, very good looking, and that very, remarkable eyebrows. But he just gets into a character, and and the interaction with Brendan Gleeson, we get two great supporting performances. So The Banshees of Inisherin, another film that I couldn't have picked two better contemporary movies to go to see in my return to the theater than Tar and The Banshees of Inisherin. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who listened. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Have you seen this movie? What did you think of it? Take care.